It is definitely time for the comprehensive look at what happened today in the news, and here's a look at the stories that made the headlines.
Napenda kuhakikishia Watanzania wenzangu na ndugu zetu wa Rwanda kuamini serikali inayoiongoza na wananchi wa Tanzania tunapenda kuwa na uhusiano mzuri.
On a damage control mission,
Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete says no need for bad blood between Rwanda and his country.
Police parades two suspected FDLR group members believed to be responsible for last week's grenade blast in Nyabugogo.
The Zimbabwe election.
Changirai's allies announced they will launch a constitutional court challenge against Wednesday's polls, which handed Mugabe a thumping 61% of the vote. Well, a very good evening to you. My name is Eugene Anangwe.
And I'm Fiona, Mbabazi.
Now, is Tanzania's President Jakaya Kikwete being apologetic to Rwanda? In a lengthy televised speech over the weekend, Kikwete termed the Rwanda-Tanzania relations as difficult and therefore wanted them mended.
Our reporter Florent Luthier takes us off with that story.
Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete said on Friday relations with Rwanda had soared because of his efforts to bring peace to neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. In his monthly address to the nation, Kikwete said Tanzania nevertheless wanted to continue its historically positive relations with Rwanda while working to bring peace to Congo. On May 26, Kikwete said all the countries involved in the Congo peace talks, including Rwanda, shall talk to all the rebel groups. A comment that drew fierce criticism from Kigali, where negotiating with FDLR rebels is seen as unacceptable.
Napenda kuhakikishia Watanzania wenzangu na ndugu zetu wa Rwanda kuamini.
Tanzanian president further added that relations between the two countries appear to have been shaken following his advice to the Rwandan government to seek dialogue with the FDLR rebel group.
Now, two men are being held at the Kichukiro police station over the alleged participation in the last Friday's grenade attacks in Nyabugogo.
Now, the two were paraded before the public today, with one of them narrating how they carried out the operation.
We were very many of us, almost 4. I do not know where the other 2 are. We were told to go to Nyabugogo taxi park. When we reached there, we saw that there were a lot of people. There, we could have easily been arrested. We went round to the other side and threw the bomb. When the bomb exploded, we went back home. Emmanuel immediately went back to DRC.
However, one of the suspects being held denies the allegations.
There is a problem because he is the one responsible for the grenade attack. When we were arrested, he said that we were together, but me, I did not plant the bomb, and I have never associated myself with him. He does not even know my home.
Now, the police say the whole operation was coordinated by the colonel from the FDLR rebel group.
This act was planned by the FDLR. The whole move was coordinated by Colonel Bizimana Enoch, also known as Matovu. He chose 2 young men, then he sent them. He advised them to come as civilians as HCR repatriated them. The grenades were brought by Corporal Emmanuel in March. According to our understanding, the mission instructions were from the FDLR. We all need to know when people are plotting so that we can prevent such incidents.
Well, you are watching this live news broadcast coming to you from our news center. We take a short break, but when we come back,
we will tell you why some city motorcyclists are up in arms with the decision by leaders of the association to create a motorcyclist parking lot at the Nyabugogo taxi park. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying tuned to TV10 News. Now, days after the Association of Motorcyclists constructed and commissioned a new parking lot for its members in Nyabugogo, it seems all that action is not going down well with association members.
But what really is the bone of contention? Here's Lauren Richardson finding out in the following report.
Before, taxi motos did not have a parking space like this one, but with ambition to reach the city, the Kigali city leadership began to create these motor parking areas. Many motorcyclists occupy the Nyabugogo area. They pushed the Kotamonia cooperative to create a motor parking space so that they can wait for passengers. On the other hand, motorcyclists are not happy with the parking space they built because of the lack of travelers in those areas. They are worried that they could even suffer a bomb attack, since many people are concentrated in one area.
Nobody comes here. Where can he pass? See where they start off? Can he reach me? It is impossible for me to exit this area. It is closed like this, and if it was bombed, nobody would be able to find an exit. That's also a problem, so we all wonder who came up with this project. Maybe he wasn't thinking about our interests by his own.
It is true that there are potential passengers who leave motorcyclists inside the parking area for others on the outside, as this one does.
I am really unhappy. I came here to make money. See what time it is. A passenger comes and instead of coming up to a motor, I have to call him. And then I didn't find a way to exit. He got off and went outside the parking area. So you understand, I could not find out a way on a motor. So he went with another one. We have to leave this parking area so that we can get people ride with us. Because before we could not get any passengers.
After conversing with these motorcyclists, we wanted to understand the goal of this parking area. We talked to the vice president of the Kotamonia cooperative to find out. He told us that the parking area was meant to organize the moto taxi system. As far as security is concerned, he says there is no problem.
We designed this parking like this, aiming first of all to organize the motors as motorcyclists were not organized. This used to lead to insecurity on the road. As far as the bomb attacks are concerned, we have been working hard on it so nobody can attack them. If people are all in the same area, the security guard can easily monitor them. Even in Rwanda, there is no insecurity, nobody can shoot at them.
This Nyabugogo moto parking area was launched at the end of last week. It cost 20 million Rwandan francs to build. Kotamonia Cooperative constructed it in collaboration with Nyarugenge District. Habyambere Ferik says that any motorcyclist that is caught picking up a passenger outside of this area will be punished, just like any other person who does not respect the rules of the road. Lauren Richardson reporting for TV10.
All right, moving on now. Gahara sector is in Kirehe district and is right on the border with Burundi.
Now, the residents of the area enjoy collaboration through cooperatives, including with those from the neighboring country.
In our feature of the day, Lauren Richardson takes a look at life in this part of the country.
The cooperative is a boat business. To cross between Gahara and Muyinga province, you have to cross the Akagera River. The members of the cooperative take their boats back and forth. Burundians say that they collaborate often with Rwandans and appreciate the monetary support that it brings.
Yes, Rwandans have more money than we do. Because we give them our money when we come to buy things in Rwanda. They can't get their money if we don't come here to buy those things. Another advantage that the Rwandans have is that their money is worth more than ours. So when we want to change from our currency to theirs, we have to pay more. For example, the green bananas that we want to buy in Rwanda, they cost 1,000 francs. But if you pay in Burundian francs, you have to pay 3,000.
The president of the cooperative says that they can earn 100,000 Rwandan francs per week. Half goes to Burundians and the other half goes to Rwandans.
The problem that we are facing is that there are other associations that have the same business, and we get less profits because the other businesses are not operating legally and can manipulate their prices to be lower than ours. But we have reported them to the sector government. On May 30th, the government tried to help us, but we are still waiting for their final decision.
For Burundians, they appreciate the business and say they benefit from it. For them, the challenge is Burundian francs. If you have money from Burundi, purchasing goods from Rwanda is expensive because the currency is worth less. Lauren Richardson reporting for TV10.
Well, that was Lauren Richardson with that story. Now, Eugene Anangwe is in the other studio with our guest of the day, ready to talk to us concerning bribery and many other things. Over to you, Eugene.
All right, thank you very much, Fiona. I'm on the other side of the studio, and it is our talk studio where I'm with the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda, none other than Mr. Apollinaire Mupiganyi. Welcome on set.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Fiona.
So very quickly, the topic of discussion today or this evening is on the issue of the fight against corruption. Just recently, your institution released its index concerning the state of corruption and the different departments that are perceived to be the most corrupt and those that are not most corrupt. So first of all, do you feel like the war on corruption is being won or not?
We are on the good track, Eugene, as it is shown by various indexes published by our global organization, Transparency International, at the global level, East African community level, and at the national level. As you said, we published very recently what we know as Global Corruption Barometer, which is an index carried out by our global movement, where Rwanda was ranked among the least corrupted country worldwide. In Africa, Rwanda was the first with an average of 13%, while other following countries in East African community, just to have an idea, Kenya had 70%, while Rwanda has...
When you mention Kenya, you make it with a lot of stress. 70%.
70% in comparison.
13%.
Yeah, in comparison.
Are we happy with this result for Rwanda?
Yeah, of course. When we look at when we came from, Rwanda was at the same level if I compare in years 2000. But year per year, Rwanda put in place measures in the
fight. What has been the decrease rates of corruption levels in Rwanda?
Yeah, if I take an example of what we call CPI, Corruption Perception Index,
yes.
The CPI, if it decreases at least for 1%, it increases on GDP for, as they say, at least on 10%. If you decrease on 1% only. Here I talked on the difference in terms of 20-30% if we compare to our neighbors.
Yes.
But what is important, it's the perception from Rwandan citizens when you asked if the corruption will decrease. At a level of 85%, Rwandans say that corruption is decreasing. In the opposite to other countries, so we appreciate.
So even if other countries the levels increase,
yeah,
I'm trying to look at what we are comparing ourselves with.
Yeah,
because we might say that our levels are decreasing, but probably we are looking at how much corrupt other countries are, and probably on their side they could be increasing, and therefore we are gauging ourselves basing on that.
No.
Do you think we're giving ourselves a correct figure?
No. The measures, those indexes are done in-house, in country level,
yes,
not in comparison to other countries. Those are experiences of Rwandans and experience of Kenyans, Ugandans, and others, where this global corruption barometer has been carried out. But in general, what we can say, even if it's 1%,
yes,
as we are engaged in, we zero tolerance to corruption. Even 1%, it's not acceptable. So we are encouraging institutions to keep the momentum in the fight in prevention and fight against corruption, because even this 13% means that they are victims of this kind of scourge. So we encourage our partners, government officials, to strengthen the commitment in the fight
to
against
reduce corruption.
Yeah.
But Mr. Apollinaire, this zero tolerance to corruption, what does it really mean, and is it really practical?
Zero tolerance to corruption, it's a vision, and we are on a good track, as I said. That means that the victims are aware to report corruption. That means that the law enforcement institutions are ready to not no impunity. That means all actors, media are engaged in reporting corruption.
Yes.
So if all the society is engaged in this fight,
yes,
this means zero tolerance
will be achieved.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
Finally, the last question. Your institution is considered as a watchdog to fight corruption. Yes. But there are those who say it's a toothless dog. You cannot bite. Your work is just to report. This is what people perceive as to the situation of corruption and all that. Do you look at it from the same level? What contribution can your institution have in the reduction of corruption in different countries?
Yeah, as Transparency International Rwanda operating at national level, we are very lucky, because I can repeat that in our country there is a clear political will to fight against corruption. Yes. That means that as civil society, we have our mandates, but beyond our mandate, we have MOUs with some public institutions which are in charge of the fight against corruption. We've signed an MOU with the police, the prosecutor general, the office of the ombudsman, which allow us, when we receive cases or we witness any cases of corruption, we work in partnership with those institutions to
bring to book
those who are take an action against those cases. So we are not only a watchdog, but we are contributing, we are contributing to fight through the partnership that we have with those institutions, and the results are good.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Apollinaire. That's all the time we had for this discussion.
Thank you, Eugene, for your invitation, and thanks to TV10 for inviting me.
Thank you very much. All right, that was Apollinaire Mupiganyi, the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda, our guest on set today. Now we take a short commercial break, and when we come back, here's what's coming up. Zimbabwe's Morgan Tsvangirai says he is going to challenge Mugabe's re-election in court.
More details of these and other stories after the break.
Imagine roaming through a world without borders, connected by one seamless mobile network, where every call is a local call and all incoming calls are free, where anyone can SMS or upload and download data for one flat rate, anywhere. Imagine, for 70 million people across 17 countries in Africa. It's already here. One Airtel, one Africa.
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us.
Well, thank you very much, Eugene, especially for the nice interview you had. But one thing that you didn't mention was gender bribery. Do you think this actually plays a major role in companies and other places?
Yes, indeed. In the recent days, or what we've seen in the press lately, is that gender-based corruption is now taking root in different institutions, where now corruption is no longer just about money, the giving and taking cash, in terms of cash. But now some people are taking advantage of women and asking for sexual favors for them to be able to get certain favors. And we hope that Mr. Apollinaire and his colleagues are going to do a good job in curbing that kind of a bad behavior in the near future. All right, so moving on. Zimbabwe's defeated presidential candidate Morgan Tsvangirai on Monday prepared to mount a legal and political challenge against what he called sham election that extended Robert Mugabe's 33-year rule.
Now, Tsvangirai's allies announced that they will launch a constitutional court challenge against the results of Wednesday's election, which handed Mugabe a thumping 61% of the vote.
The case could delay 89-year-old Mugabe's inauguration for another 5-year term. Once the complaint is lodged, the country's top court has 14 days to reach a decision. Western nations, including former colonial ruler Britain, voiced serious doubts about the election, while the regional SADC bloc said it was free and peaceful, but stopped short of describing it as fair. The ruling ZANU-PF has welcomed the prospect of a court challenge over the vote, the first since bloody 2008 election led to the formation of an uneasy power-sharing pact between Mugabe and Tsvangirai.
Now over to the international scene. At least 19 U.S. embassies and consulates in predominantly Muslim countries will remain closed through the week as the State Department says, State Department stays on guard for potential terrorist attacks.
Yesterday's initial one-day closing of 22 U.S. outposts followed the State Department's issuance of a worldwide travel alert warning of planned attacks in the Middle East, Northern Africa and South Asia by Al-Qaeda or its affiliates.
Now, the decision to extend the selective shutdown through August 10th is not an indication of a new threat system, a department spokeswoman said in an email.
President Barack Obama instructed his national security team last week to take all appropriate steps to protect the American people in light of a potential threat occurring in or emanating from the Arabian Peninsula, according to a White House press release. The terrorist threat that prompted the closure is very credible and specific as to how enormous it was going to be, lawmakers from both parties have said.
Now, elsewhere, a high-profile former military commander has been sentenced to life in prison for his role in a plot by a terrorist organization to overthrow Turkey's Islamic-rooted government.
Lakers Bag, who led Turkish armed forces from 2008 to 2010, is one of 275 people accused of attempting to trigger a military coup against the Prime Minister. Rikata Yipa Dogan. After a 5-year trial, a court is delivering verdicts on all of the defendants, among them military officers, politicians and journalists.
Now, the court judges have sentenced 3 opposition MPs to between 12 to 35 years in prison. They have also acquitted 21 people.
The case has exposed deep divisions in the country, and security forces have set up barricades topped with razor wire around the courthouse.
Now over to Expo updates. Last weekend, the ongoing Rwanda International Trade Fair proceeded with the multitudes of people coming with their children to enjoy the last weekend of the trade fair.
And in our daily updates, my favorite indeed, on the Expo, Friday James brings you what people love about the trade fair during the weekend. Take a look.
In great numbers in attendance, the Rwanda International Trade Fair last weekend had so many people buying and also enjoying with their families. We asked different people what they love about the weekend at the trade fair. I came to find out how the trade fair is going. There are so many products available. The only issue is that you can't buy them all. I brought my kids to play games and eat and have some fun. People have come in great numbers. I don't know if they have all come to buy, but there's so many people. One of the product exhibitors mentioned that the trade fair at the weekend is so exciting. Since this particular weekend, many people had been paid. Business was in the right gear. At the weekend, it is so special. There are so many people, and the fact that so many of them got paid, it makes it interesting, and business goes on well for us. We were intrigued by these amazing scenes at the trade fair as well. Friday James, TV10.
There you have it, the updates by the man with the name Friday on a Monday. Well, definitely that's it from our studios today. We are keen to have your feedback on our effort.
Now do let us know by dropping us an email to news@tv10rwanda.com.
And on behalf of our news director, George Ndirango, on the other side, and the entire production team, we want to thank you very much for keeping us company. So do have yourself a good evening. I'm Eugene Anangwe.
And I'm Fiona Mbabazi. Have a blessed night.
Napenda kuhakikishia Watanzania wenzangu na ndugu zetu wa Rwanda kuamini serikali inayoiongoza na wananchi wa Tanzania tunapenda kuwa na uhusiano mzuri.
On a damage control mission,
Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete says no need for bad blood between Rwanda and his country.
Police parades two suspected FDLR group members believed to be responsible for last week's grenade blast in Nyabugogo.
The Zimbabwe election.
Changirai's allies announced they will launch a constitutional court challenge against Wednesday's polls, which handed Mugabe a thumping 61% of the vote.